Thank you for joining us today to Don't Call It Talent, episode one. And this is my number one guest, Kyle Wright. He is a content creator. I can talk, I promise. Content creator, musician. He's a co host of Ryker Road and The Detour, host of the Cavecast and Campfire Scary Stories. Welcome, Kyle.
Appreciate it, man.
So, the whole purpose of this Don't Call It Talent series is to kind of discuss the trials and tribulations of content creation or music. And you fall under
Absolutely.
both.
Yeah. Yeah, trust me, I am no stranger to the struggles and the wins, and sometimes there's more than the other, depending on what side of the pendulum you're on, So, but
Yeah.
it's this is really cool, man, because especially when you were conceptualizing this and talking about it, I'm like, I feel like, there could be a lot of, big opportunities there to talk to people, but also like getting to be a part of it. It's just being able to kind of, pull back the curtain a little bit and tell people really what goes on, and, that not everything is always squeaky clean, and it's like sometimes, things take a lot more effort to make things happen, which I know that you are no stranger to. So it's cool, man.
Yeah. I just got so tired of people just kind of taking the overnight success stories and stuff and thinking that it just
Yeah.
happened, when people have been putting so much hard work. They call it talent. This guy's very talented. No, he spent 10,000 hours working on doing that for you,
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
man.
So, you and I are friends, and that made this an obvious choice for the first episode because you have both the content creation and the music part. We've worked
Yeah.
together on both. And so, I kind of want to start from the beginning on things. So, like, let's discuss how I'm going to also preface this that I'm going to kind of break this up into two different things because on one side you have the video creation, the content, and then you
Hmm.
also have the music side of you. So
Yeah.
let's start with how old were you when you first started content creation?
Oh man. So it's kind of an interesting story, and it's one of those that like it's it has kind of like echoes of Riker Road that were even happening back then, kind of like life imitating, things that had yet to be, become, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I think that more specifically, I need to give a big shout out to one of my really good friends, Sammy. She's the one that I actually made videos with when I was younger. So it was the idea that, whether it was a flip camera that that those old flip USBs where it would like pop up and you could plug it straight into your computer, or getting your hands on a $60 camera from Walmart and thinking that, oh, it has a pull-out screen, everything's cool, and then you get home and it looks and sounds like a potato and it's just
Yeah.
awful. But no, man, I've always loved film. Like I was the kid that would always quote Jurassic Park to all my friends and act it out. And, I was the psycho because in my mind, I'm seeing the T-Rex come down to, destroy the car, but it's just me doing this, so it's that type of thing. Like, which I mean, really not much has changed to this day, but it's interesting because like it, I know for a fact that there were like some videos and stuff that Sammy and I made that were kind of just like throwaway stuff where like, it was, oh, we're gonna put together an idea for like 2 minutes and then ad lib everything. And there are some things on YouTube that I pray to God that she has taken down because it's just like, oh my God, it would ruin my reputation completely. But no, man, it was always fun. Like I remember specifically being over at her place, and we were in the basement and we were like trying to shoot a ghost effect. And it was the idea of like trying to see how we could make somebody appear. Like the idea of that, if we wanted to shoot something for the story we were doing of like, oh, like how does a ghost, transition through a wall or different things like that.
Right.
And I remember the very first aha moment I had with editing. And it was just on the computer, and we were both trying to figure it out. And finally, she was like, hold on, let me try this. And she added a fade between the two clips of where I wasn't and where I was. And to see just something that wasn't there prior appear was so fascinating. And I'm like, this is what it takes. I'm like, okay, I want to know everything I can about this. And
Right.
from that point on, man, I just I fell in love with Film Riot. I've watched the majority, if not all, of their episodes and taken notes, and it's something that now that my boss that I work with in marketing, when people ask where I went to school,
Excuse
he
me.
always says YouTube University.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's like because I spent I think like 2 summers just sitting in the basement, not getting any sun, and just watching as many videos as I could. And that eventually led to me getting a DSLR camera, which I think it was the Nikon D5100. I think that was my very first Nikon or
Okay.
first DSLR. And we made tons of shit with it. We did teleportation effects in the backyard. We made a very horrible found footage short film that will never see the light of day. Just but it eventually moved on to that. I got connected with a church over in Wadsworth, which is a neighboring town, kind of like in the area that we live. Like it's like a decent distance away from us, but it was kind of like where I got connected with people.
Right.
And just it was kind of like the pastor and I just like hit it off where there was this need for video, and I was the very hungry artist to do something because I wanted to be, active and learn, make mistakes, all that stuff. And I worked with them for, I want to say, God, probably maybe like 5 years, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
Just
Yeah.
like just doing video ministry, and it was everything from sermon intros every week to the worship backgrounds to the like I wouldn't say ads, but like stuff that we would put on to promote like different stuff, or like it was kind of like a mixed bag of everything. But that's really where I learned how to work with a client,
Yeah.
and it was in my opinion, I think it was the best way to start because Adam and JP, who were not only my pastors but also technically my bosses at that time, they were very blunt, and they would be like, "Okay, you know what? No, this doesn't look good. Let's try this." Or it would be, "Oh my, like, dude, this is perfect. This is amazing. Tweak this thing up here a little bit, and then we're good to go. Send us the files when you're done." So like that's kind of the relationship I had with them, and along with the spiritual side of it, being mentored by them. So it was kind of like a little cool like cocoon that I was in,
Yeah.
to kind of learn what I needed to. But to make a long story even fucking longer, I ended up finding some client work here and there, and whether it was a buddy's band that got big, or sorry, got like bigger from like high school and stuff, and they needed a music video done or a lyric video. Our cousin Alan, he raps and makes music, and he needed some work done, so I've done stuff for him. And it's kind of just always been there. Like I've just always enjoyed it. I'm always looking for opportunities to create things that are not just on YouTube but also our client work. I've had the pleasure of actually working with Rodney Gefford from Forest of Screams. He has a fantastic just haunted house, but it's out in the woods, and he's also got escape rooms. So like once a year I usually know that I'm going to get a call from him, and he's like, "All right, man, it's time to make another commercial. Let's do it." So like that's but all that pretty much culminated with the idea of where YouTube led, because I had tried YouTube for years and it just never went anywhere.
Yeah.
That was, I think it was something I think that is probably worth mentioning, was that I got on YouTube to in the beginning to essentially use it as a point of ministry, which was kind of BS because all I was doing was challenging atheists and having an ulcer the entire time I was doing it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was just it was a lot of arrogance, a lot of things like that, and I learned a lot from it. But it really wasn't until Eric and I decided to start making content together, and we started with gaming, and it was atrocious. Like there are things that we hope people never see, but one day we may release it and be like, "Hey, this is where we came from." But yeah, it started with the Dirty Diana reaction on Riker Road, and it was just that kind of like being tired of the same old thing of recording for 2.5 hours of gameplay, and then getting 15 minutes out of it, and then you get 10 views.
Right.
So it's like it, because as like Erica said before, where he's like, "Look, I knew that there was a grind, but there's like you should be there should be some kind of traction there, like there should be at least some kind of interaction, because we didn't even get comments, like people weren't engaged."
Right.
And from the point that we did the Dirty Diana reaction, it was like the next day it was like, "Oh, react to this, do this, go 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 go," and it was insane. So I guess you could say that's kind of the nutshell way that everything has happened. And with
Well,
music, I mean, I picked up a guitar when I was 15, and that kind of just followed suit, kind of with everything from playing in worship bands, playing in a metal band that never really went anywhere, to learning songs, all that stuff. So
okay, we'll dive into
yeah,
more of that pretty soon. But yeah,
yeah.
the YouTube grind is something else because oddly enough, we're both from Ohio. That's how we kind of came across each other. The
Hmm.
thing of it was is we were not really introduced, but we were told about you guys from a subscriber. And
Oh.
the reason why was because, there are two dudes that are funny that also live in Ohio that started out with like, doing YouTube. We were doing a podcast and then
Hmm.
we ended up switching to reactions because of the same thing you were talking about. I was putting in hours upon hours to put out one episode that's an hour long and it gets, I think we get almost 100 views on those, but
Yeah.
nobody was
Yeah.
really engaging on it and stuff. So it was a very similar story. And then once we started doing the reaction thing, it just popped off. But yeah,
Hmm.
so doing the video creation and stuff, I don't think you put the age of when you really started on that.
Oh, so yeah, I mean pretty much 15 years old. That's kind of when I started content
On video
creating.
as
Like
well? Okay.
yeah, on video. And I think that it's because it was weird because it was around the time that I picked up my first guitar was kind of when I tried to do something with YouTube. And that was taking a PlayStation 2 iToy
Yeah.
and finding drivers for it and like hacking the computer or whatever, like with the limited knowledge I had of like, oh, if I just copy and paste this will work great. And that's kind of that's essentially like how how it truly started, I would say, for sure.
Would you
So
say that you used LimeWire to download some editing
oh, well,
software?
we all gave our computer aids, dude. It was
Oh
great.
my god. That's
What's
what
and it's
happened with me. It was doing audio. Like I was trying to record my own music and stuff. So
Mhm.
I was. It took. I lived in the sticks, okay, in Oklahoma. So it took a week to download Cakewalk
Oh
Sonar 3. But
man.
I loved it. I used it every chance I could. Just diving in, trying to figure out everything. When you're passionate about something, you just want to just sink your teeth into it and try to learn as much as possible with it.
Yeah.
So you throw so much time effortlessly at trying to do that.
Yeah, what's honestly that's really like what my life kind of became once I realized that I had the ability to, like to just make whatever I wanted to. Now, the knowledge was limited, but it was kind of like, okay, like my only limitation right now with my skill set is my imagination.
Yeah.
And, being able to, have the time, to be able to do that because like, dude, like I would get off work from my warehouse job at like 3:30 or 4:30 and would get home and would take enough time to shower, quickly eat, and then go into the basement. And literally until I went to bed, I was learning After Effects. So it was just one of the coolest things. It was just a lot of fun to figure out.
Yeah.
Hmm, hmm. It
Got a
looks like there's a
little.
pop up.
Yeah. It says running out of time. Really?
It's
How much time do you
all
get
good.
on these things? Oh, we
I
have.
think it
It says we
should be
got
allotted.
9 minutes and 40 seconds left. That's stupid. I'm
Gonna
gonna
say
have
if you
to
want to take care of
upgrade
that.
this, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right.
Hmm.
Man, that fucking thing threw me off.
No, no, I get it, man. It's all good.
All right. So, what was your first like big project? Was it like doing the church stuff? Would you consider that like your big project, or your first big project, or would you do it more along the lines of like your first like real YouTube stuff?
I would definitely say that the church projects were the biggest one and were the biggest thing, but more specifically, there was actually a Christmas video that we did that was going to be at one of our like services that was done at the local high school because I think it holds like 500 people.
Yeah.
So it was, no longer going to be, oh, the small screens in the church. This was on a ginormous screen where like pixels have to look good, like the lighting has to be proper. And the long and short of it essentially was, kind of like talking about, the truth of the Christmas spirit and, the idea of that, you always are looking to fill that void your entire life, of like,
Right.
that kind of like God-shaped hole. And we displayed that while the way that we did it was that essentially it was that we followed a girl's life from when she was super young all the way up until she's elderly. And it took a lot of planning. It took a lot of volunteers. And specifically, this is why the project was so big, was that I think JP was the one that came to me and he said, all right, look, can we do an effect where we can show her essentially like transitioning from, a one age to another by a fade? Kind of like in movies where you'll see like them by the Christmas tree, and then, it's like she's on one side hanging an ornament, and then you fade in, and then, she's 13 on the other side hanging another one.
Oh yeah, kind of like
And
in Saving Private Ryan, where it shows
yeah,
Matt
yeah, yeah.
Damon's character go to the old man that was at the graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was that kind of thing. And I remember what freaked me out so much was that the oh God, what was it? I want to say that the teenage girl that was playing the part, essentially she actually only had enough time to be there for like an hour,
Okay.
and she was gonna show up before the younger girl got there. So it was like, okay, I've got to keep all this organized in my mind, that, it's like, okay, these clips are going to be out of order, but then, put them in order in post. It was also a very hard thing to leave the camera in the middle of the room, have the focal length be exactly what it is for the 2.5 hours until the other person shows up. Where it was like, do not touch this thing, do not bump it, leave it exactly where it is. And thankfully, we pulled it off, and the whole thing turned out great. And in my opinion, I think that that's probably one of the best short films I've made, just because like the content was very serious, but it was also shown in a way that we like. Because my biggest thing with filmmaking is show don't tell.
Right.
I really, it bothers me whenever a movie is like just force feeding you exposition, and they're just like, oh, this is what happened. Remember that one time back at the lab? Ha ha ha. It's like whatever. Like it's like they show things, and that's really what we tried to do with it. So I would definitely say that Christmas project was like the biggest thing I'd ever done at that point, and to get it rendered out and send it off to the guys and basically be like, all right, here's my baby, take it. And just, I hope that it does well. And the reception was really cool. So it was awesome.
That's awesome. I love the go get 'em stories. You
I
really,
say at the time, it didn't feel like go get him. I was just surviving, but afterwards, I was like, oh,
yeah.
yeah, that was pretty cool. Yes.
Well, how many times do you go up against the wall like that, where part of the challenge is what kind of iron sharpens iron kind of instance there, where you got to put yourself in that situation to get on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Maybe I'll get to at some point, but I think that'd be really cool to see.
Hmm.
So starting out with the success from Riker Road, it's strictly a reaction channel now, right? I mean, that's kind of what you
Yeah.
call it. So
Yeah, we actually it's actually funny you mentioned that, because we actually just talked last night, and I actually, before I jumped on here, took off all the videos that are not reactions, because we're going to put them on the detour instead. So we're making
great
sure that
idea.
that is a well, I mean, there's like some that will stay on there, but yeah. So
Yeah, that's a great idea. Plus, it's a way to kind of keep feeding content into that second channel. Give you guys a
yeah.
breath fresh air whenever you're like, oh crap, I need to put something out on this channel, and I'm completely
Yeah.
swamped with other things.
Yeah,
Yeah, but on top of all this, you work full time.
I do.
Yeah. So what's the mental game there? Like, is it a big challenge for you, or is it kind of just one of those things where it's like, I'm just constantly doing the same job all the time, just kind of different flavor of it.
Um what I will say is that what I do at work and then what I do at home, the two are drastically different.
Yeah.
So it's the idea that like for instance, there's been some projects that maybe, like doing stuff in, like for Riker Road, where it's like, oh, we've done ads for, chairs, or we've done, these different things. So it's like that those are kind of the moments that my day job leaks into what I do, because, I've
Right.
been working in marketing for for, almost like 6 or 7 years. So it's like,
I thought
doing that
those
is like,
ads were too good.
yeah. So what was funny was actually I sent that to my boss where I was like, "Hey, I'm like, what do you think about this?" And he responded back and he was like, "You made me want to buy a chair." He's like, "It's almost like you've worked in marketing or something." So, but
Right.
it was funny. But no, to answer your question about the mental thing, dude, there are times that it's a lot. But I think that also has a lot to do with life and kind of like where I'm at mentally because one of the things I've been doing recently is really kind of just trying to improve my mental health in any way because there was a while that it was like I was basically like on autopilot and was kind of a zombie.
Mhm.
And that's not good for anybody. It's not good for the relationships for people that are around you. Your work suffers because of it. Even if it's not the final product being a problem, it's the you know like mentally taxing thing of being like, dude, like I didn't even want to get out of bed today and now I've got to sit here and rock out to Falling in Reverse. Like, it's like it can be very difficult. But I will say that on a norm, like the job that I have, on my day to day, like it is, I dare I say it's very easy. But in the same hand is that there's enough of a challenge there to kind of still give me that kick in the ass that I need of like, no, like learn from this. You're doing things. And um, so I kind of like have this thing where like I kind of check out during the day and it's like I focus on what I'm doing. And like, YouTube will still like run and function while all that stuff is happening. Like I'll check comments or, things like that. But really when I get home, that's really when like my mental state is just the best because it's just like, I'm with the person that has been by my side throughout everything that has happened in life. And then also, we've achieved some great things, doing YouTube and, we get to just have fun. And it's just, it's such an interesting, like vibe with it because a lot of people have the assumption that I'm full-time YouTube and that's just not what it is right now. Like one day it would be cool, but if I'm able to do what I do and be able to have, like I wouldn't say two incomes because it's not that lavish, but it's the
Yeah.
idea of that, being able to have my day job that, was able to pay my bills beforehand and then now a little bit of extra, like the majority of that stuff just goes right back into content creating.
Right.
Unless if like car parts are needed or like, something needs done around the house or things like that. Like a YouTube check ended up getting this MIDI board and like different cameras and all that stuff. Like we're always trying to invest back in ourselves. So
Hmm.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that I know 100% what you're talking about.
Yeah.
but but yeah, so doing the channel with your brother and stuff like that, I think a lot of the times that people assume that you are YouTube full time. One, you guys are fucking workaholics. Two,
Yeah.
uh, Eric is full time YouTube, so it's easy to
Yeah.
kind of make that assumption. But
Hmm.
so I mean, I want to get back to the whole workaholics thing because you have these other channels. You guys
Hmm.
fucking you're workaholics, and your other channels are not nowhere near as many subscribers or views as Riker
Right.
Road is, and that's not trying to downplay it or anything like that. It's a whole nother category on its own.
Yeah.
But
100%.
the reason why I want to shine light on that is because the Cavecast and the Campfire, they're both deserve to be like as many as Riker Road, up to 200,000 subscribers or more. And because your voice acting skills are top notch. Like
Thank you.
if you wanted to make a living off of that stuff, you could easily do that.
Hmm.
Like if you pursued that channel, because I know you know people who are in that line of work and stuff, and I'm sure you could follow that. But as any
Hmm.
doing anything, it takes a lot of time and energy to focus on that one little area, especially when you're like us and we try to incorporate everything that we can to be like the superhuman that can do anything.
Dude, I've got a disease of more, man. Like it's just it's one of those that I find that I'm never satisfied.
Yeah.
It's because it's but I also try to use that to my advantage. But thank you for those kind words, man, because it's been an interesting road on those channels to make them happen and to try to just be like, all right, well, let's get this next thing off the ground, or because I mean more so like the cave cast, but the campfire, that was originally my the original channel name was called Spider for Kyle. It was SPYDE. 10, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But
Oh, okay.
um so but that was kind of like where the ministry stuff started. And then as time evolved, it went to, all right, here's sketches, here's all this, all these funny random things. Then I went to college. There were college vlogs on it. Then I started doing Bob the Demon on TikTok, and then a lot of stuff got thrown on there, and like TikTok blew up, and like it was kind of like this almost like primordial soup where like for the
Yeah.
longest time like I didn't know what to do about it. And as we were, doing more stuff with Riker Road, like making like the merch shop and then also the Discord, like they have very road you know, associated names. So like, you have like the gas station, which is the Discord, you have the garage, which is the merch. Like, so we were trying to figure out how to kind of like take the entity of Riker Road and apply it to kind of everything.
Right.
And we played with a lot of names for the Scary Story channel. Where like, is it the back roads? Is it the cemetery? Is it, like, what do we do? And I didn't want to associate it with anything that had a theme. I really just wanted it to be like, no, dude, where do you tell scary stories around the campfire? And like that's kind of like how it all came together. But the campfire is a challenge. It's a lot of like you said, a lot of time and effort, whether it is, the acting, or if it's, finding the art that I need like through Night Cafe of like creating AI art. Because I would love to at some point maybe like be able to film some things or do photography, but in the same hand I have to bring on people. I want to compensate them for their time, and like that takes time to shoot. Or I can have the story sit on Night Cafe and prompt the shit out of AI and then get exactly what I need and then animate the pictures after the fact. So
Right.
that's kind of like what it's evolved into now. And creepy pastas have kind of been like, the thing that I'll use if I have like an itch to do it again. That I can jump on there and grab anything, because it's not like no sleep on Reddit where you have to have permission, otherwise they can come after you. So, because
Gotcha.
like creepypasta is like that open source kind of a thing. I mean, you cannot uh credit them, and it's kind of a dick move if you do that. But I always want to make sure everybody knows exactly where it comes from. But it's a cool channel, man. Like it's kind of the place that I get to flex some muscles I don't get to do anywhere else. And especially
Yeah.
if it's an original story that I, have come up with, because that all kind of ties into something bigger that I'm working on that I really want to try to do one day. But that's kind of where I can put all my creepy and horror and scary things that are creative and just have some fun with it, and um I'm very thankful that Eric understands the creative process, because there's times I've been in the studio and recording screams or like different yelps or like different stuff. Like, you guys get to hear the end product, but you don't get to see the like, just like, or like the random shit that happens. Like,
Right.
I actually at one point, my buddy Luke was over, and we shot a story thing. It was we call them the St. Judas tape. So it's like, psychiatric patients that are being interviewed, essentially,
Yeah.
like the found footage thing, but taking a spin. And we had a Yeti microphone that was in the middle of the room, and I told him, all right, man, you're grabbing somebody by their ankles and you're slamming them into the wall. Just like give me like, like what you would do. And God bless Luke, he went for it. He's just like just like doing all these grunts. But
Right.
on their own, it's hysterical. But when you finally composite everything, that's when you're like, wow, okay, this really does work. So there's kind of a lot of imagination that goes with it, and it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
just it's just a really big, sandbox and playground that you can be in once you have this, like, the energy moving and things are going. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. It's a big old sandbox. I love that analogy.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, mind you, there's sometimes sandcastles don't always stick. Sometimes they crumble, but but once you do get that one pale, perfect, like, thing where you take it off and you're like, oh, it's perfect. It's, so, but yeah, man, it's definitely a lot of fun. The cave cast along with that too. Like, I mean, that's a place where, we finally have reached a point where, we don't really worry about too much about like having a topic. It's more so like, can we have a conversation?
Right.
And instead of being like, oh, here's the top 10, dumbest criminals, or like these like different stuff like that, where I mean that stuff's cool, but once you are relying on a list that's in front of you and you're trying to bounce ideas off, it feels so fabricated and it feels very artificial. Whereas I'd rather have the 10-minute intro where we had the for YouTube's sake, the corn conversation that we did, so it's like that kind of random fun stuff can just like come out of nowhere. We didn't plan that. That was just, our hilarity in the moment. And that's the stuff I love to capture. So
Yeah, you guys definitely captured that fun.
we try to, man. It's just kind of like having a camera in the Riker house because like conversations like that happen all the time. You guys just don't get to see it. So like it's
I know it's one of those things too, and I'm so I'm kind of jealous of like the whole thing you guys got going on because you both live under the same roof, and well for now, anyways.
yeah.
But like
Hmm.
you've got 3 studios in your house, and you're able
Yeah.
to just go in, flip a switch, hit record, basically in any part of it. And I know that's by design. You
Hmm.
you have to at that point. But like I'm just sitting here, especially with me traveling and stuff. I have my one little corner in the section here, and it's like this is all you got. You
Dude.
have to share it with your wife because she works during the day. you
Well,
know?
dude, this is actually one of the things that really like just like if I can genuinely like boost you up, man, is that like from one of the first like conversations that you and I had, and I think with Eric included, was that you talked about your process and what it took to make videos and how you did everything. And I know that I am aggressively impatient. I am very short fused when things don't work, so it's one of those that like seeing that you were still making things happen anyway, that's a huge testament, man. Like, I mean, for the multitude of things that, that you were like trying to put together and what you were doing. And the fact that it's like, no, dude, like you definitely have that space to be able to do that. It's just that like it's that drive of, being able to keep that flame alive. But in the same hand, the majority of the reasons why I didn't get a lot of content done in the past was because I didn't have a designated space. It was taking apart the basement every single time we wanted to do a podcast because, this before we moved it up into its own room. Like it
Right.
kind of just became a sanity thing where I was like, I'm like, I literally cannot think about where to put this light for the millionth time anymore. I am
Yep.
exhausted. Like, so, but that was also after a long period of time of doing it. And it like you genuinely do impress me, man, because it's like you were able to make content with a lot of obstacles and you still made it happen. So it's just cool, man.
Yeah. I'm
It's a
not
big
great at
testament.
it, but I am a bulldozer. That's for sure.
Right. Honestly, sometimes that's all you need, man. I mean, it's, that's because I think that that's always the thing. Like, it's the fact that, if you want something bad enough, you're going to do it. Just like if you love something, you're going to take care of it, and it's like that to me, like, there's no excuse for anybody that's alive right now that wants to make content to not at least have the ability to make some kind of content. Like, you
Yeah.
can buy a Rodecaster Pro now for, I mean, granted, yeah, it's, a little more expensive, but it's like, you don't have to buy a separate receiver for a phone to be able to take calls. You don't have to buy, external things to plug in to make other things happen. Like it's all just there for you, and it plugs in with a USB.
Right.
So it's like that's kind of like the lens I started to look at it through. Was I was like, wow, okay, like we have like yeah we have everything. Okay, well what the hell do we do? So like that was kind of the next question, but yeah, it's dude, you have overcome a lot of things, man. And the fact that, even though you haven't made as much content maybe as you've wanted to, you traveled the fucking country. Like
Yeah.
you've gotten to see some incredible things. So to me, I think that it's a big win, just because it's not, maybe the frequency of which you would like to do. When you still do it, it's cool. Like getting to watch your Ronald reaction was so fun. So it's like when that popped up, I was like, yes. I'm like, oh my God, I've been selfishly hoping he'll do this. So yeah.
I was so happy I didn't get it spoiled at all because like I was really surprised that I didn't get spoiled on it because of like
Mhm.
it's like one of those things is like you see a yellow pony, you've never seen it before, and then next thing you know, you start noticing yellow ponies everywhere, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, yeah, for
after
sure.
after watching it, I was like, I am so surprised that I did not pick up on anything. Like I follow
Well,
like Rock
yeah.
Feed and stuff, and they had Ronnie Radke on there. Luckily, I didn't watch that because that would have spoiled it for me. you know?
Well, I think that like honestly, because I've had a lot of different things spoiled for me. Like I'm nothing that I'll divulge like details on in case if anybody ever wants to watch and enjoy these things. But like the twist in Fight Club, like
Oh
that was
yeah,
one big like I knew what happened years before I had watched it, and I was like, ah, fuck it, I'm not gonna watch it. And It was actually a good friend of mine. She was like, "No, you need to sit down and watch this David Fincher movie. Like it's incredible." So that was kind of my moment that I was able to push away the anger of spoilers, except for Infinity War. I still want to kick that guy's ass that ruined the ending for me on YouTube. But
Oh no.
that's somebody I don't even know. So like that was like years ago before I ever started making content like that. But yeah.
Oh man.
Um but no, like I mean, whether it's like The Last of Us Part Two or like if it's anything else, like I try my best to like when a spoiler happens on something where I'm like, you know what? There's still art here. There's still something cool being made, and the
Right.
execution was done properly, even if I know what's coming.
Mm,
So with Ronald, it was kind of the idea that, well, I know that Tech and I know that Alex are here. When is their moment to shine? And
right.
it was still a roller coaster ride. But I'm very jealous that you got to experience it without it spoiled. But in the same hand, like it's just damn good, dude. It's just fun. Like that's
Yeah,
just a great song.
I don't know if you know this or not. I found out afterwards, but apparently Jason Richardson and Luke Holland helped write that song.
I knew Luke did, but I didn't know that Jason was a part of it too.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that makes sense. I wonder how that works, because when you look at Falling in Reverse, it seems like it's really just the Rodney Radke show, because I don't
Hmm.
know any other members of that band. Because I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it's like a revolving door with musicians.
I know that they did replace their one guitarist who had passed away at one point. So I mean, which I can't remember if he was. I'm probably gonna get butchered for this, but I think he was an original band member, kind of like when they first like like not Escape the Fate, but like when Falling in Reverse first started.
Right.
But no, that is an interesting concept because it's especially for what Ronnie writes, you're just like, whoa, like dude, like you have to find people that you can hire that can learn these songs. And
Right.
like even when it comes to the Clays from Polyphia, where it's like, no, dude, like they've like Tim and Scott make all of these midis.
Yep.
And it's like they have the 808s and the kick drums and like all everything where it's like no, like they have the painstaking process of listening to this and learning it. And
Hmm.
I think there's something really beautiful about that where it's like when you can play with excellence something that is quantized. And it's just because I mean I hate to break it to everybody, but humans are not perfect. So it's
Nope.
like when you try to emulate something that is perfect, that is such a challenge because I don't even think I've gotten to that point yet of being able to take MIDI and then translate it to the fretboard. It's a whole different ball game and just a Mount Everest that you have to climb. So
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're trying to do it to that extent, I can understand and stuff, but seeing it, music is something that it's human created. If you play it perfectly like a machine, I mean, congratulations, but at the same time, you're losing your feel for it. The human
mhm,
side of it.
sure.
And I think that's where a lot of stuff's kind of going south on most music stuff these days. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really cool stuff that we can do. Like this is the best time in the world for music because you
Hmm.
have all these opportunities. Everybody kind of has a an ability of sorts to be able to create really good music recordings and stuff these days.
Hmm.
Whereas back
Yeah.
in the day, I mean, you had to record on tape and know how to mess with all that stuff.
Ugh, I
I
can't even
couldn't even.
imagine.
I was about to say, I
Yeah,
could
right.
not
Yeah.
even.
Yeah. It's
Like
well,
that
because
was. Oh, go
dude,
ahead.
it's just no. I was gonna say like it's even like when you see like old films that were put together. Like let's not even say anything that was even like the 80s. Like look back at like the 1930s. Like
Hmm.
when these horror films were being made and like how they did different effects of like what was like number one being able to shoot something in camera is always the best way to do it, but the fact that they were able to have such great pacing and such great cinematography and literally it's here's the film strip. I hope that's right. And then play it
Right.
through the reel and go, ah, fuck. And then like have to start over and like do your
Yep.
thing. Like it's like we're in a very privileged situation, having digital. And it's where it's just like, no, dude, like the process it has its own challenges, but the monotonous, like physical human task is no longer there. It's now do you have an idea and can you actualize it?
Right.
So it's yeah, it's a whole thing.
Goodness. All right. More on the music part of it.
Yeah.
This is something we have not actually discussed before.
Mm.
Very first band. Let's talk about that.
So there are two things. So the first one, which I mean a lot of people probably wouldn't count this, but for me, I know for a fact that I count it because of what I learned. I mentioned JP, who was our pastor at the time, or sorry, he was the guy that was under Adam. I can't remember what his like legal term was, but he was like maybe like executive pastor or something. But
Legal term.
um yeah, right, I said the legal term for it, but yeah, it's how they separated taxes or whatever. But no, but JP is actually somebody that was a drum tech for Alice Cooper back in the
Oh,
day. Like he's a phenomenal drummer from what I understand. Him and I have not spoken to each other in a long time, but from what I understand, he still plays music, he's still involved, but he also worked for like Pearl Drum Heads. He owned his own cigar shop, things like that. So like he was kind of like the anchor point of the band, not only because he was the drummer, but because he did have so much musical insight. So what I'm getting at is that when I started playing lead guitar for praise and worship, it wasn't this like, oh, let's, sing, how much he loves me or whatever, and like, play your G chord over and over again, and that's what you're doing. It's the no, you have to take care of the high range, play these lead notes. Here are these six songs, learn all the leads for all of this, and fit in with the mix of what we're doing.
right,
And I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of a trial by fire because I fell flat on my face a lot. And it was in front of people during church where it was like, no, they're here to not have the problem of getting, distracted. It's like they need to be able to have, a state of worship.
right,
So that's so I would really say like that was kind of the beginning of things. But as time moved on, a buddy of mine, Minx, he has like his own studio and everything, and just like it was kind of like a weird situation on how him and I got connected. But he was somebody that just he still understands music, and he wanted to do this metal project. So that was really when I had a lot of my guitars in like drop A sharp and drop B, and was learning all of these riffs and things. And we never really accomplished anything for one reason or another, whether it was like my life stuff was taking over, or like I wasn't available, or like other people not showing up, like so it never really was a thing. We never played shows, but we had some good times where like when we would just be in the basement, and everybody would be there, and we would get to play through a couple of songs and be like, whoa, that felt good. um but another learning experience from that was his buddy Mouse, which that's every guitarist in the world or musician has a strange name like that, where it's like, oh, when's Timmy coming over? No, his name is Mouse, and he'll be here in 15 minutes. But
no shit. I had a lead guitar player in a band after high school. His name was Frog.
I don't know what it is, dude. It's like everybody that's in music has like a one syllable name or something. I don't know. It's like where it's like always something random where it's like, oh, this is cue ball. It's like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. So like
Yeah.
it's just very odd. Like, but no, we were playing this song. It was a song called Heavy as the Crown, and it's all in drop A sharp, and it's on that low six string of just like doing this crazy thing. I was having a lot of trouble keeping tempo. Mouse stopped everybody playing, and he went, "You," and he pointed at me, and he went, "Take off your shoes." And I looked at him, I looked at Minx, and Minx went, "You heard him. Do what the man said." And I'm like, "What? Like, is this like some kind of weird power play? Like, did I sign up for something I don't want now? Like, what the fuck is this?" And so I did, and he went, "Put your feet near the bass drum, or sorry, the kick drum," and he's like, "Actually, put your left foot on it."
Hmm.
And he went, "All right, Minx, play that part again." And that, and I could feel the bass. And he's like, how did he say it? He said, "You've been playing rock and roll for too long."
Right.
He's like, you need to be tight with the bass drum, because the bass, sorry, the kick drum, because the kick drum, the bass, and the guitar are all one wall of sound. And like when they attack and when they do things and all that, and that's really where I started to learn the difference of genres, where I'm like, wow, this is like the science behind like what makes this happen. So I never really, like, again, didn't get to play any shows or anything like that, but it was still a learning experience, and something that I've taken with me, throughout, producing music, the small amount that I have, and even just playing and kind of like understanding what my role is. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a difficult journey to go through sometimes where like just getting into the part where you are playing shows and stuff. There's so much involved with it. but at the same
Mm.
time, it's so fun. I'm kind of bummed you didn't get that chance to do that.
Well, it's honestly like it's interesting because like I didn't while I didn't get to play anything with them, I still would go to like wineries and I would play acoustic shows and play
Oh, okay.
like I would still like like sing and play and do stuff and I've kind of toyed with doing it again, but also it's like when am I gonna have the fucking time to practice 15 songs and then go perform it and then pack up and then unpack and bring it back and then have
Yeah.
videos ready. So like it's because I've kind of like alighted to the like greener pastures in a way where like I'm not really concerned about starting a band. I'm not really concerned about consistency in who I work with. I just want to make music.
Hmm.
So it's one of those where like, if down the road, if it's one of those where like, all right, man, I've got this really awesome guitar riff and it's like, can you make some drums for it? All right, cool. Ron's on drums. We got this. And then I go to my buddy Blake where it's like, hey man, can you do a really cool like, metal solo over here? We'll throw you in there. Cool. We have that person. Then we'll bring somebody else to do. But like my thing is just like, dude, we have a melting pot. Let's fucking use it. Where it's like, it doesn't need to have an entity. It's just like, no, this is just what got created and we'll worry about naming shit later. It's like, to me,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's just having that fun because I know that, while it's not bad pressure, it's like there's enough pressure in my life to create things. So when it comes to music, that's really like my time just to shut off.
Yeah.
And it's just it's nice to not have the well, you didn't show up to band practice today, or like you ran late. Sorry, my dog was sick, or like whatever. So it's that type of thing.
You're like,
But
bitch,
yeah,
I got kids, man. Like,
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, it's like a Wolf. Did you ever see Wolf Van Halen's new or not new stuff, but his stuff that he's been making?
I haven't been able to when you become a reactor, you kind of have to steer. You
Oh, sure,
obviously
sure.
know what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah, oh yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't chose him as one of those. I don't care. I'm listening to it. Kind of thing yet.
Well, it's he kind of like pokes fun at the idea of that. Like, it's again, the music is it's a whole another thing. That's so this is like minor compared to the stuff you would discover if you did React. But it
Yeah,
was like the whole mentality of he clones himself in video where he's the drummer, he's the bassist, he's the
I did
guitarist or
see that.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And where he's like, hey, where's Wolf? And like the drummer guy walks in, sorry guys, I know I'm sorry I'm late, and sits down, grabs the sticks, looks at them, and goes, hey, I'm waiting on you guys. Like so, it's just like that kind of dynamic. It's just fun. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
taught myself how to play everything, and I could do all that stuff if I wanted to. The thing of it is I have such crippling like I suck at this that never goes away. So it's like it's
see
so
that
hard
that
for me to
shocks
like push
me.
it out.
Dude, like this is the thing is that I mean, you and I kind of talked on Instagram about this a while back, but like you genuinely are one of the most like talented people that I've met. Like and what
Ah,
I'm saying with that, like it's because of the fact that it's like you have an understanding. You know how things need to be put together. And even like for making Valhallelujah, like that was something where like we pretty much were throwing shit at the wall and seeing what would stick. And that was the very first time you and I had ever like interacted with each other, on a personal basis. Cause it was like we went out to eat with you and the wife or whatever, so like
yeah,
that was kind of cool to like rub shoulders, but we had never worked together.
right.
So it's that whole mentality that you don't know what it's like to play golf with somebody till you finally tee off a ball,
Right.
and just number one, had the best time ever. It was just,
It
it's
was fun.
just a lot of laughs, a lot of like, act just carefree kind of thing. But I knew how I got whenever and get whenever I practice or whenever I try to record things, and usually it's a lot of profanity and messing up until I get it right. And the second that you were playing and a mess up happened and you went and then you were like,
Oh
okay, no, all right,
yeah.
this so like, all right, this is the one. All right, let's do it. Like
I call it musician
it was
Tourette's.
great, dude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's such a real thing, man. And it's because like that's when I knew that it's not that I didn't think you were relatable before, but it was like getting to work with you personally where I was like, we're the same person in this. It's like I get it. Like he understands, like nobody is dogging on somebody because they didn't learn their part. They're like nobody, like, it's nothing like that. It's kind of like, no, like you are enough of a skilled musician that you understand how your fingers should be and how to get the sounds that need to happen. And dude, like just I applaud you a lot on that, man. It was a really good time. And it is it's done nothing but solidify just the talent that I know that you have, because
Yeah.
it's not just with that, it's also with the music that you've created that I've been able to sit back and watch, and then also the music that you've written and we've recorded harsh vocals for. So like it's all that, dude. Like you have a good understanding and also how to set an atmosphere because, dude, that last one is just so terrifying. It is so good. So is it a Dream Reaper? Isn't that what it
Yeah,
is?
Dream Reaper.
Yeah.
That was. There's the whole story behind that. I think I might have to write that down for you, just so you maybe you could do it on the campfire or something, because it freaked me
I
out.
would love that. Please do. Yeah.
It freaked me out. But yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know, something in me. Maybe it's a mental disorder. I don't know. It's like I know for a fact you are genuine in what you're saying,
Mhm.
and you're not going to hand out compliments like that. I know you.
No.
I know that as you know as a person, but still, I'm like, it could be better. Like it's like I could do better.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think that it's, like, I think everybody that has their head on straight has that mentality, and in my opinion, should have that mentality. Because, it's like, even when you look at like Neil Peart, where it's like, dude, like one of the greatest, if not the greatest drummer that ever lived, and he still took time to stop and refresh himself and become a better drummer.
Yeah,
So it's like, it's that mentality of like, like if somebody is, good at guitar and knows it like John Mayer, where it's kind of like, no, like that's kind of weird. Like you're an ego addict. Now he's since changed his ways, but it's kind of like, man, like it's that mentality of that, know that you're good, that you can like know your skill set, but also know that you always have room to learn because even
right.
if you've mastered something in a genre, there's still tons of other styles and different things that you could still try to learn from. So it's wild. So,
I know this is a derogatory thing that happened in the WWE, but that reminded me of The Rock's "Know Your Role and Shut Your Mouth."
mhm.
It's like that's seriously kind of what you just said. It's like
Yeah.
know what you're doing, but take advice and always keep learning.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right. Well, to close this out, do you have any advice for somebody not to start out, but just in the race to begin with here? Like, do you have any advice for them?
Oh man. Dude, the main thing is have fun.
Mm,
Like that's because at the core of everything is that, yes, what, Eric and I do is, it's like it is work. Like, we have a very rigid structure on how we do things. It's like we have, like like we always joke that it's like we could make a master class of what we do, but the problem is that YouTube is changing so much that, it would be useless. But
yeah,
but
100%.
at the core of what we're doing, man, is that we're just enjoying ourselves. And it's there's that idea of that, no, you have to learn your skill set, you have to make sure that this skill that you've honed in is something that can essentially get out of your way.
Yeah,
So once you've gone through that and you're kind of in the place of that, all right, all I'm doing is just moving pieces and doing the stuff. It's like, nah, dude, like remember why you started, remember why you keep going, and remember what you want to achieve and have fun in all those things. And it's just like take in content. I'm a YouTuber, so I constantly watch YouTube. I'm constantly like looking up stuff, So like it's weird because I mainly view YouTube as a place of entertainment, not really
yeah,
something to study, but it always pops up whenever I don't realize it. Like I'll see something like, oh, Tulip Mafia has like the flames that come in that, every time he transitions to a different, clip. And I'm like, man, maybe we did something like that. Or like when I watch a movie reactor say something funny where it's like, oh yeah, the suck zone, awesome. It's like, or like something like that. Will like, like it's just like something like that. Like it'll just spark something, and it's really cool to just, remember that because you're watching people that are having fun and you need to as well. Because the second that it becomes nothing but work, not only is it going to be miserable, but people are going to be able to tell and they're probably not going to want to watch.
right.
And that's kind of like an insult to injury in a way because you're like, no, you don't know what the fuck it took to make this video. And it's like, well, no, I can tell because you were exhausted,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
but, and I would say kind of like to tack onto that as well, too, is rest. You've got to rest. Like being burnt out is one of the worst things I've ever felt because it's the idea that like we get our reactions done, sometimes in one day where it's like we'll do 7 videos, but sometimes we spread it out where it's like 4 one day and 3 another. But there have been times that we have been ready to record the next 3 on a Saturday, and Eric and I will just be like, dude, I am not fucking feeling it today.
Yeah.
It's like let's take some time. Let's get away from the computer for a full day and come back and be rejuvenated. And 9 times out of 10, we are always pumped to record again.
Yeah.
So it's because the way we do it is that we have enough to cover us from those days of us doing something. But yeah, it's cool, man. So just have fun and rest. I would say those are the two main things for sure.
Well, that's some fucking great advice, Kyle. I appreciate you. Do you have anything going on that you want to promote right now?
Man, just I mean, honestly, it's one of those where it's like, I mean, just the reactions. We're still posting every single day at noon. That's Riker Road, so that's the main thing. Cavecast is still a weekly thing. We actually have an episode coming up soon, depending on what's going on, even if it's not this week or coming up sometime after. But we actually get we're having the opportunity to actually talk to Tulip Mafia. So we're gonna
That's
get to interview
cool.
him. Yeah, so we haven't really talked about it much, kind of publicly, just because we just wanted to be sure that it was kind of like solidified, and it seems like things are going.
Yeah.
But he's got his own stuff like with scheduling and stuff to figure out too, to be sure we can. But other than that, it's just like the campfire is going to kind of happen whenever I am able to have it happen. That's kind of become the channel that I pretty much feed into it kind of when I want to,
Yeah.
so now to be fair, the studio just got finished down here, so now I have more of an easier process to do those things than I did before. But yeah, man, that's really it. I mean, it's the main focus of those. And other than that, it's just making music whenever I can, and that's usually stuff I send to you where I'm like, all right, man, tell me what you think, so it's that,
Right.
where it's like, of course, everybody knows that whenever we send each other music, that it's always like, please say something nice about this, please say something nice about this. So, but yeah, man, it's just the same old stuff. But we're excited to see what happens next, because it's that Robin Williams mentality of just, like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And he just smiles and he's like, no, how exciting,
Yeah.
like, how exciting is that you don't know? So, but yeah, man.
100%. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Definitely, if you do have anything you want to promote or, just come on and have another conversation, let me know.
I would love that, man. I'm always down to chat, man.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Kyle.
All right, brother.